In Chapter 1, we saw a little bit about just what the data set looks like in SPSS, and so this is going to be some of the stuff from sections 2.1 to 2.4 of looking at summary statistics and graphs dealing with the data set in SPSS. First of all, if we want to look at dealing with categorical data and we wanted to summarize that, we've saw we can use frequencies, pie charts, bar graphs. So what we can do for those graphs is if we go up here to graphs, legacy dialogues, we have a bunch of options here. Here's pie chart. We can also do bar graph. If I click on bar graph, what we can do is just have a simple bar graph and click define. And then we can pick what we want to pick as our variable. So maybe we're just looking at grade classification here, and we can click OK, and it'll tell us the different classifications of how many people in the sample were of these different types. We can also get that summary information by going to Analyze Tables and then just clicking on Custom Tables. And then we can pick whatever rows and columns we want. So if we just want to look at grade classifications, we just click OK, and it will tell us how many we have in each of those categories. What else we can do is look at pie charts, but that would be the same idea as what we did up here. If we're dealing with quantitative data, we might want to look at things like histograms, box plots, dot plots. Going up to graphs, legacy dialogues, you can see there are options there for those as well. So maybe I want to do a histogram. Let's go to histogram, pick whatever variable you want. Let's look at how many credits someone's taking. And we just click it over here as variable. You can also then divvy it up according to like another category, like we could compare credits based off of grade classification or something if we wanted by putting those down here at the bottom. If you ever put a variable here you don't want, just click the arrow back and it goes back over into the list. Okay, so if we put it over here, click OK, we will get a histogram for us of our credits. And so we can see that's a pretty symmetric looking graph. It also gives you the mean and standard deviation and sample size on the side. We could also look at something like a dot plot. You can go to scatter dot and then you'll select simple dot here. Click define. Let's do height. And here is our dot plot for height. So we have a dot for each person. And then you can also do box plots from there. Another way you can get box plots as well as a bunch of summary info is going to Analyze, then Descriptive Statistics, then Explore. In that menu, you can put whatever variable you're interested in. So let's look at credits and then just keep it as both down here. Click OK. It will give us some summary info. Our mean is 15.14. We'll talk about confidence intervals later in the course. Our median is 15. Notice those are very close because we had a symmetric distribution. We have a standard deviation of 1.477. We have our minimum, maximum, range, IQR, all of that info there. We are also then given down here a box plot for that data. One other thing that you might want to do is break up one of these quantitative variables according to a category. You can do that in both of the options I've showed you for graphing. Let's say we wanted to break up looking at a variable by grade classification. So we can go to Descriptive Statistics and then Explore. And let's look at how many hours of sleep you get and see if that differs by grade. So we put grade classification down here in the factor list and click OK. And what this will do is break down that info for us to freshmen, sophomores, juniors, and seniors. So we can find all their means, standard deviations separately, and then it will provide us with box plots side by side. So we can directly compare these, see who has higher means, who has higher medians, who is more spread out, who's less spread out, some of those sort of things. If we wanted to compare two categorical variables, maybe like grade classifications and do they differ by the dorms, a picture we could look at is still a bar graph, but notice we can cluster these or stack them. So if I stack them on top of each other, I can put in one of my variables like grade classification and then the other variable dorms, and we probably expect there to be a difference here. And so here's what we get. So we can see for freshmen a very small percentage of no, a high percentage of yes, sophomores a big percentage of no, and then not much yes, and then juniors and seniors were all no's for living in the dorms. So that is a way to compare two categorical variables, whereas these side-by-side box plots let us compare one quantitative variable across various categories.